Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your guy Rudy SKC, and welcome to a brand new video. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pistons absolutely mollywopped the Chicago Bulls today, 132-92 at the United Center in Chicago, and there's tons to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the final score, 132-92. That's a 40-point deficit, ladies and gentlemen. And there were points in the game where the deficit was even more. I mean, if the Pistons, they took out all their starters with the exception of Malik Beasley, who we will get to in just a moment. They took out all of their starters with about 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And at that point, they were up by about 45-46. I mean, this could have ended up being a 50, 60-point game if the Pistons had really tried to keep their foot on the gas pedal. And to me, this is now, look at the last three games. You've beaten the Bulls, the Hornets, and the 76ers, all basically in blowout fashion, right? The Hornets, I cannot believe they allowed that comeback late, but for you to go from that, now you bounce back against the Chicago Bulls, where you say, regardless of how much we went up in the first half, to keep your foot on the gas pedal in the third quarter, to not allow any kind of run. Again, that shows that this team is growing, and that's all you want. But now you look at it, 3 straight games, 3 bad teams in the Eastern Conference. You clearly assert that you are in another league than them. Early in the season, the Pistons were not doing this. They were it didn't matter if you were, Dartmouth College. You were going to be in a close game with the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons just made the Chicago Bulls look like a JUCO team playing against the 2016 Golden State Warriors. That's how bad this game was. And to be fair, man, maybe that is the talent gap given with what Chicago's working with on that roster. But that's a whole nother thing for Bulls fans. Sending sorries out for King of the fourth quarter for having to deal with that. But this is absolutely progress for the Pistons. For you to be able to have these humongous victories against bad teams, that is progress. That's how you start becoming one of the more elite teams in the NBA. By beating the teams who, frankly, let's be honest, the Bulls are not trying. The Bulls have given up on the season. The Bulls are tanking. Okay? They're a team that's not trying to win games. And for you to go out and beat them, not just, a little 7 to 8 point win, for you to go out and beat them by 40? By 40? That says something about the direction of your team, the direction of the players on your team, and the direction of the team's culture. So, to me, the final score in this game is my first huge takeaway because it really shows the progress that this team has made. Second thing I want to highlight, I mentioned it earlier, Malik Beasley officially sets the Pistons record for most threes in an NBA season, breaking Sadiq Bey's previous record of 211. Yes, 212 threes, and he went 7 of 10 today, 24 points. So I want to say something to put the season that Malik Beasley is having in perspective, okay? Because a lot of you might be thinking, hey, you know what? It's a Pistons threes record. The Pistons, we've sucked for the last 15 years. We used to try out a lineup of Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, and Andre Drummond. That's the Pistons team I fell in love with, by the way. If you want to ever question my fandom, that's what got me watching basketball. We used to trot out that lineup, and it's pretty obvious we have not had any great three-point shooters over, the last 15 years, or for the matter of the last 20 years, okay? For the matter of the last 20 years. Malik Beasley, what Malik Beasley is doing is beyond any of that. This is not just he broke a record on a bad team for the team record. No. I want to put this to you guys in perspective. Malik Beasley this year has 212 threes in 54 games. If you map that pace out to an 82-game regular season, that would imply that Malik Beasley had hit 322 threes. If you take out Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and James Harden, that would be the most threes by a single NBA player in a season in NBA history. In NBA history. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and James Harden. The greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history, and perhaps the greatest scoring guard that we have ever seen in NBA history in James Harden. And Malik Beasley would have, if you take those guys out, he would have the most threes in NBA history. That's the type of season Malik Beasley has been having. It is an absolutely historic season. And it's that level of historic season that has allowed you as a Pistons, as a team, as an organization, as a fan base, it's what it's allowed for us to come this far. You look at the Pistons, we would not be this far without Malik Beasley, with him stretching the floor, with him providing secondary scoring for Cade. Look at what he's done for Cade's game. He has elevated Cade from having to shoulder the burden of scoring every single night. Look what he's done since Jaden Ivey's injury. He has taken on the role, even coming off the bench, of being that second guy that the Pistons can consistently rely on to just put points up on the board. And when he puts points up on the board, it comes in flurries. If you looked at Malik Beasley, the second he stepped into the game today, 9 points in 2 minutes. 9 points in 2 minutes. That's Malik Beasley. He is a human flamethrower who's having one of the best seasons we've seen from a shooter in NBA history. So that's Malik Beasley. And I wanted to put this into perspective for all Pistons fans, because when Pistons fans look at Malik Beasley, you look at a guy whose value is really replaceable as a shooter on the team. But I think with how great the season has been for Malik Beasley, this is really going to put into question, what do you do with Malik Beasley in the offseason, right? Do you extend him, which I think the Pistons should do? Can you trade him? Because, there's a chance that this season is a fluke, right? There's a chance that he may never regain the shooting powers that he had this season. And if that's the case, this is going to be when his value is the highest. So maybe you can trade Malik Beasley, get some other great pieces around Cade. So those are your two options. And in my opinion, Malik Beasley, with the way he's performed this year, he's really put those into question, right? And when I say trade, I obviously mean a sign and trade, because he will be a free agent after this year. I just had to make that clear. So that's what Malik Beasley has been doing, and it's allowed you as a team to come this far. When you look at the NBA, how many other Malik Beasleys are out there? How many other guys can you rely on any night to come and give you 20? As a guy off the bench, as a guy who's not your first, and he's not going to be your second option either when Jaden Ivey comes back. How many other teams can say they have a guy like that? And you, the Pistons, you have one of those. Every championship team needs one of the guys who can, whether it was the Golden State in 2022, you had the energy guy in Jordan Poole. You need a sixth man level player. And Marcus Sasser, he's young. He's not there in his development yet. And why not keep the guy who single-handedly allowed your franchise player to play the best basketball of his life? And if it's not Malik Beasley, you better go out and get someone like a Cam Johnson, or someone who can kind of replicate at least what Malik Beasley is doing. Maybe you sacrifice a little bit of the shooting for the defense. But whatever it is that Trajan Langdon does, what Malik Beasley has done this season, it really puts you in a perplexing position where, he said he wanted to be part of this team, so you didn't trade him at the trade deadline. Do you lose him for free at the free agency? You do a sign and trade? Or do you give him an extension? It's up to Trajan Langdon. But let me know your guys' thoughts on what we should do in the comment section below. Moving on, Ausar Thompson, guys. Let's talk about Ausar. Because over the last 5 to 6 games, Ausar Thompson has really kind of been showing off the flashes in a more complete way than he had been doing previously. And what do I mean by this? Let's look at it. Ausar Thompson's last 6 games. He has been in double figures in all of them. He's gone to the free throw line in those 6 games 24 times in that stretch. Albeit he didn't go to the free throw line today. And it was just not needed because the Pistons were, the Bulls weren't trying. Let's be honest, the Bulls weren't trying. But he got to the free throw line 24 times in the last 6 games. Ausar Thompson is now turning the corner. He's showing off when he's going to the rim. You can see there's a clear difference. The Ausar Thompson of the start of the season, and even, maybe like 10 to 15 games ago, when he was going to the rim, you saw that there was a little unease in what he should do with the ball. He should pass it or whatnot. He's been way more aggressive over the last 5 or 6 games. And in my opinion, the biggest difference, he's been strong going to the rim. You were able to knock Ausar off balance pretty easily, in my opinion, beforehand. And now you're seeing when he's going to the rim, it feels like he's really comfortable in his body. And for a guy who's as young as Ausar is, for a guy who's gone through, he thought he was contemplating a career-ending injury. Blood clots have caused people to end their careers. And he had to spend an entire offseason rehabbing from that. He's in his second year, guys. He is a freak athlete, and he's just growing into his body. And now you're seeing what's happening when he is comfortable with how to use his body when he's driving to the rim. Even that little, when he's in the post and he gets that, he gets a little turnaround jumper, the 10-foot turnaround jumper, even that's starting to look more polished now. And obviously Ausar, he's going to be good for, his basketball feel, the way he's seeing the game, and also being maybe one of the 10 best defenders in the NBA. I mean, he's a generational defender. He can defend all 5 positions at once. There are clips this season. Go to Twitter and check it out. There are clips this season where you can see Ausar, he basically defended every single player in one position to force a 24-second violation. That's how special Ausar is on that side. And he's starting to put it together with athleticism on the offensive side. So, everyone always talks about the comparison. When you bring up Ausar, you have to bring up Amen. Amen is a better player right now. But to say that Ausar is going to be a bust, which is what a ton of people have been saying, is ridiculous. And you're seeing, he's literally showing you guys why he had so much hype, why he had so much potential coming in. It's coming together. And I tweeted it out. It's really bringing a tear to the eyes of the people who've been harping on this over and over and over again to all the Pistons fans over the since the beginning of the season, for everyone to be patient with Ausar, because he's worth being patient over. That's the type of players, that's the type of special feel for the game that Ausar has. And when you talk about what does this Pistons team look like with Jaden Ivey in the starting lineup, it's almost a certainty now that you need to have Ausar in there as well. So that means Cade and Jaden Ivey need to be get better at shooting, obviously, right? And Jaden Ivey, he was doing that this year. He was shooting 42% from 3. He can clearly play with, Ausar Thompson. But again, Trajan Langdon in the offseason, that's going to be something to address, because if Ausar, let's be 100% honest, he's not going to develop a reliable jump shot by next year. I don't care how good of a shooting coach Fred Vinson is. He's not going to develop a reliable jump shot. He can shoot maybe I would say it's a success if he shoots 30% from 3 next year. I'll be honest. So how do you address that at the other positions, right? Having Malik Beasley off your bench is great. If you keep Tim Hardaway on your bench, fantastic, right? Lindy Waters, he's basically Simone Fontecchio, but worse on defense. That's something you have to address in the offseason, whether it's adding 3-point shooting to the center position, and I don't know what that would look like for Duren, or getting someone who's more of a long-term replacement than Tobias and shifting Tobias to the backup 4, because Tobias obviously is not this. He had a great game today, don't get me wrong, but he's not the same player that he was 3 to 4 years ago. So that's, again, something, it's very interesting, but Trajan Langdon needs to figure this out. And I tell people this all the time. In basketball, in my opinion, when a team is rebuilding, this is the most fun stage to watch the team. That's what the Pistons are in right now. And you'll soon start seeing all the fringe basketball fans, after the disappointment of the Lions, the NFL season is over, they'll see the Pistons are starting to be good. We've had LCA starting to get packed a little bit more, and that's going to start going up as we inch closer towards the playoff. There's going to be an insane amount of hype with the Red Wings doing the things that they're doing. Obviously, now they're at the Four Nations break. And as the Tigers start training camp, the Pistons are going to be one of the main attractions for fans. There's no other distractions, There's no distractions of a team that's so hyped up. They are in the national headlines basically every single day. They're on ESPN every single day. Are they overrated? Are they underrated? What's happening with their defense? That's not a distraction anymore. So to me, the Pistons now, fans are going to have the space and time to be able to incorporate the Pistons into their watching schedule, and you're going to see the support that's going to go up for this team. And for me, for me as a fan, it's fun to see, because this is when a young team they have their growing pains. But then they do things like today where it's like you're so happy that they're able to take a step forward. And you're so happy, and there's a level of uncertainty too at the same time. So it's not like if you're a really good team, you're expecting to go out and mollywop every team on a daily basis, right? That's where the Celtics, the Nuggets are, and they did that for 1 year, and now they're kind of lazing it because they know they'll just turn it on in the playoffs. No, the Pistons are trying every single game. They're playing so many close 5-point fourth quarter games. It's very exciting. So I encourage all of you. I know I have a huge Lions fan base in this channel. I encourage all of you, if you guys are not tuning into the Pistons, tune into the Detroit Pistons on a game-by-game basis. You have a superstar. You have a superstar who's one of the best young talents in the NBA, surrounded by a team that's fit to be surrounded. They're fit to be around him. This is not a team from previous years where you had people that were shooting 15% from three. You don't have Killian Hayes in the starting lineup anymore. So, again, if you are not a Pistons fan, I beg you to tune into a game. Just check it out, see how it is. If you don't like it, that's fine. But what the Pistons are doing right now should be the talk of the town. It should be the talk of the town. Just a quick thing about Cade here. He's been chilling the last few games. He had 26 rebounds and 7 assists today. It was pretty lightweight. One thing I will mention is Cade's shooting efficiency over the last 10 games or 13 games. I had this down. He's taken 76 threes and made 20. It's 26% from three. So obviously his three-point shooting has not been there, and I think that's directly correlated with his shooting percentage not being up. Obviously, just a little bit of a mini slump. He's still been able to take over games when he needs to take them over. Just had some really bad stretches of basketball where he can't get anything going. I think a part of that was just burnout from being consistently the only ball handler and teams putting constant pressure on you at all times. I mean, you see it happen to Steph Curry. If it can happen to Steph Curry, it can happen to Cade Cunningham. Okay, that's all I'll say. I think the addition of Dennis Schroeder really going to help Cade post All-Star break. I think Cade, this All-Star break is going to be really good. You know, he's gonna get some rest, some well-needed rest to come back and be fresh for the second stretch of the season. And I think that's really going to help, the Pistons. The All-Star break in general, I think this year should be really exciting, right? We have one more game against Chicago tomorrow, and if you're able to win that game, you'll go in with your last 10 games with your record being 6-4, which is huge because they had a mini slump, towards the end of the month, of January and to start February. They had a mini slump, so it's good to see that they would be 6-4 in their last 10 games. Again, it's against the Bulls, who again they're not trying, so I hope they win. But the All-Star break for this year is not like last year's. It's going to be very exciting. You have Cade Cunningham in the three-point contest, which really should be Malik Beasley. You have Cade Cunningham in the All-Star game, Team Kenny, Nassar Thompson in the Rising Stars game. So I think that should be really fun to watch. It's not going to be an All-Star break where you're just kind of depressed watching the All-Star team, wondering where the Pistons' direction is and the fact that they suck. This is not going to be like that, guys. This is a much more joyful All-Star break, a much more needed break for our star. And I'm so excited to see how it's going to look for the Pistons. Hopefully, Team Kenny with Cade Cunningham, they're able to win the All-Star game. I don't know how Cade's going to look in an All-Star format, but should be fun. On other news, Michigan won an absolute thriller today against Purdue. I'm going to have an episode recap tomorrow with a special guest coming up. So if you guys don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you get the notification and reminder when it's out tomorrow. So other than that, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Have fun and, make sure to tune into the Pistons. Peace out.